Listen to the MVP chant for Lamar.
Myles Garrett is taking over this game.
Picked off by Bland. He's done it again. Welcome to the NFL playoffs.
-20 wind chill.
The Lions win a playoff game.
They're going to have a championship game in Baltimore. What a difference a half makes.
That is the most unbelievable comeback.
You're going to have to deal with the Chiefs.
Welcome to Super Bowl 58.
And the 49ers have a lead.
And we are headed to overtime.
This is a heavyweight battle. Hey, let's go be great, baby.
It's called the Chiefs have won. It is a dynasty.
Hey everybody, welcome to NFL Game Day View schedule release presented by Verizon. Patrick Claybon here. Glad to be back with Greg Rosenthal and Cynthia Freeland. We're going to give the schedule to the people. How exciting is this?
Let's do it. They need the schedule. The people are clamoring for the schedule. No one can live without the schedule any longer.
Football
they
is
need it.
back. And then it's back with mini camps, and it's back in training camp. It's always back.
It's going to keep coming back.
It never leaves.
No, and we're glad about that fact. We're going to run all the way through the entire schedule. We're going to pick division winners. We're going to give you win totals. Also, making some Super Bowl predictions. If you remember, this guy got the actual game right a couple of years ago. Last year, yeah, but a couple of years ago, it was all Greg Rosenthal.
It was like you did.
I always like taking credit for things I didn't do.
No,
Well,
that's life, you know.
As he should. Before we get the party started, we need to give you a chance to get some tickets to these games we're so excited about. Single game tickets on sale now. Catch the biggest matchup, rivalries, and more. Visit NFL.com/tickets to purchase your tickets today. Tickets available through Ticketmaster, SeatGeek, and Sports Illustrated ticket members of the NFL Ticket Network. The offseason kicks off with Patrick Mahomes and the Super Bowl champs playing host to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, a rematch of last season's AFC Championship. Derrick Henry is going to make his Ravens debut while KC begins its quest for a third consecutive Lombardi trophy. And how about the first Sunday night of the year? You've been not just waiting all day, waiting for a long time. It's going to be a rematch from last year's wild card round. Matthew Stafford and the Rams heading back to Motown to take on Jared Goff and the Lions. The two quarterbacks 1-1 head-to-head since being traded for each other. One did ultimately win a Super Bowl, but there's so much to look ahead to do. Let's look at this Week 1 schedule. Here it is. We talked about those marquee games, but don't sleep. You get a chance to see the #1 overall pick playing host to the Tennessee Titans at Chicago. How about that? Jags, Dolphins in a Florida battle. And then we get to the afternoon games in Week 1. We could see Greg Rosenthal, Geno Smith making his debut, playing host to the Broncos.
Just sad Russ isn't there.
Yeah, no Russ this time. No late game magic there. The Jets and the 49ers. Looking forward to that one coming up on September 9th. So much to look ahead to. So let's dive in and talk about the games that we are most excited about from that Week 1 graphic. Cynthia, what's your look ahead?
I am going to start where it all starts. Thursday night, Arrowhead. What is better than seeing Patrick Mahomes take on the reigning league MVP? This is just the second time we've had this situation, meaning the Super Bowl champs and the reigning Super Bowl MVP against the league MVP. Last time it was your Patriots, and by the way, the Patriots, they did win after, winning the Super Bowl just prior, but this is a great one. This is what we've all been looking for. It's a rematch of a game that, Patrick, did you pick the Ravens in that one?
I did pick the Ravens. The result was a little disappointing.
It's okay. It's still, you can pick we can already tell you that you're going to pick the Ravens Week 1 now. You can just lock that in. It's pretty much a known already, but it's going to be a great way to start.
I love starting strong like that. It's Week 1. I think it's the best football week of the year, and now we're adding a day to it. My favorite game in Week 1 is on Friday. It's in Brazil. What is happening? The Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm really excited for this one because I want to see what the Eagles are doing schematically now with a new offensive coordinator. Are they going to be as much into the tush push? Are they going to use Jalen Hurts in the same way running? First week, you kind of break out all the bells and whistles. They're going up against a new Packers defense, too. Defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. He's in our lives now. We don't know what's going to happen.
He's been in my life. And I went to Boston College. He's been in my life.
And you know what? He's a good defensive coach. Jordan Love, to me, is a box office just one of the best pure throwers of the football that we've seen. And then finally, it's the Brazilian fans in just a setting that we haven't seen. Brazil's been watching these games. I know we have a huge audience in Brazil, in Germany, and in England, and everyone's like, oh, the crowds are so great there. And they're like, just wait, like, we laugh at the energy you're bringing. Brazil's gonna make it
Low-key,
crazy.
The best time zone of all of the international games as well. Time zone, perfection. Wow, molto bene. I don't know if that's right. That's
Something that we can enjoy, and I think the newness plays into that, and that's why my game features a little bit of newness as well, because you could get a couple of playoff teams. Of course, there's some rematches. We're gonna go over those in just a second, but what about a team that just got in and a team that just didn't get in, and that's the Falcons taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look at Kirk Cousins showing up there in Flowery Branch.
Laughing at your pick.
Well, he could be laughing, but there's Russell
I love
Wilson.
it. Petty party.
Super Bowl champion Russell Wilson. And how about Arthur Smith? Besmirched, not just by Jameis Winston and the Saints, but by Atlanta subsequently. Before that, then he gets fired. Now he's got a team with not one but two fully operational quarterbacks in an offense where he can construct his vision. I think that's an exciting game. And we get to see Kyle Pitts with a quarterback, maybe two quarterbacks. Is Kirk going to play? Is it Michael Penix Jr.? There's so many storylines that we can overreact to. That's what I love.
You're already drafting Kyle Pitts as your tight end number one as well. We've locked in Patrick's entire
This game is a very Patrick selection, but I got to give it to you. It's the right one. You actually were right on this game.
See, there we go. We start with a win for me. Everything, of course, is going to start, though, with that AFC Championship game rematch. That won't be our lone opportunity to see Kansas City on the big stage. They ended the season with that Mecole Hardman walk-off touchdown. The Chiefs are going to have plenty of games. In fact, 5 games in prime time coming up next season. They're trying to win their 9th straight AFC West title. Andy Reid's squad also has a big matchup on Black Friday against their rival Raiders, the last team to beat them. So this is a look at their full schedule. We get a really fun start against a couple of AFC North teams in the Ravens and the Bengals. But Cynthia, KC has won at least 10 games for 9 straight seasons. Do they do it again?
So it's May, meaning the win totals are closer to that halfway mark. However, the best win total projection in the entire AFC, Chiefs. 10.9 wins, so that rounds up to 11. By the time the season starts, look for that number to creep up closer to 12. The lucky thing for the Chiefs in general is that they get to play the NFC South. That's a little bit of shade to the South, but it's also not really because that's just the way the schedule works out.
Look in the mirror, NFC South.
Yeah, hey, you know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry.
Getting the division out of there.
Win. Just
Yeah,
win.
they'll win.
Ultimately, they're tied for the 16th hardest schedule in 2024 based on last season's opponent win percentages. So let's check out who's got the roughest schedule ahead of them, rougher than the Chiefs. It's the Browns, the Ravens, and the Steelers. If you can figure out the commonality there, it's pretty obvious. And then the Texans and the Packers. Woe betide the 2024 New York Giants, tied for 6th in terms of roughest schedule. A team
that just feels mean.
Yeah, them and the Patriots, I guess, and the Raiders. Not even really close to the playoffs last year. So those are the numbers. But in your mind, Greg Rosenthal, in your mind and your perception, who has the toughest schedule in 2020?
Yeah, I don't really buy into the strength of schedule. So many things have changed. So I'm picking a team not even on that entire board. It's the Detroit Lions. So what I look at is your division schedule, first of all. So to me, the hardest schedule has to be a team from the AFC North or the NFC North, which I believe are the 2 best divisions. It's crazy. The NFC North can now be put in that category. It's 4 tough games now. 7 playoff teams from a year ago. Then I go out of division. They got to play the NFC West in the NFC out of division. I think that's very difficult. Then I look at the first place schedule. What's different than the rest of your teams? The Lions, for instance, have to play the Cowboys. Like, that's a tough one. And then that 17th game, which is really like an X factor when looking at the schedule. What's their 17th game? Just the fun game the NFL wants to throw them? The Buffalo Bills. Always consistently good. I think it's a tough schedule for the Lions. And a lot of primetime, a lot of pressure on your team.
Listen, everyone needs Honolulu blue in primetime. It's just such a beautiful color. We can all agree. Another team with a beautiful color. The Jacksonville Jaguars, of course, tied for 8th on that list we saw before from last year. But let's just talk about how they start this year. At Miami, yuck. Against Cleveland at home, double yuck. At Buffalo, woof. At Houston, that's the first 4 games. That is a really interesting welcome to 2024 Trevor Lawrence. Are you made of what we thought you were, or not? It's going to start real strong. It's going to start real heavy. Did they do enough in free agency? That's a really tough schedule. And by the way, their bye isn't until late, week 12. So, yeah.
Don't question Trevor around Patrick.
No,
I'm not questioning him.
It's safe to question literally everybody because all of these games are going to be tough, and that's why the schedule is tough. But I'm looking at the Detroit Lions, who were Greg's pick. They believe in their quarterback. I think the Jags believe in their quarterback. I'm going to take the Browns here because one part of having a tough schedule is being the team that plays that schedule. They go in with Deshaun Watson returning at quarterback, and you just saw the tough schedule graphic. Yes, those teams in the AFC North are good, but here's a stretch for the Cleveland Browns this season. They played the Ravens, of course. They have the Eagles, Bengals, and Ravens in one stretch. The next stretch, later on in the season, is Steelers, Chiefs, Bengals, Dolphins, consecutively for the Browns. I believe in the Browns' defense, but we've seen what the Browns can do and cannot do, and I just feel like that's a very, very difficult schedule, but we will see that the time comes because this is the consummate team sport. We got 11 guys working together. We've got 150 plus support staff, but it all comes down ultimately when we talk about these games. Hey, which quarterback is playing against the other quarterback? So let's do that, shall we? These are some quarterback matchups. Of course, we got the MVP and the Super Bowl MVP. We got the trade #1 overall pick, Rams Lions battle. We got the #1 overall pick. Going against the #2 overall pick. So many possible quarterback storylines, despite the fact that these guys are on the field at the same time. So let's talk about some quarterback, not necessarily matchups, but games where we're looking forward to seeing both quarterbacks playing in one particular game. Greg, what's your favorite?
For mine, it's two particular games. It's the AFC South matchups with Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud. And one of them's in week 1, which, like I said, is football Christmas. You unwrap it. And you know what I enjoyed as a present back in 2023? The 120 minutes of the 2 complete games we saw out of Anthony Richardson because they were electric. He was as good a combination of decision-making, arm strength, and running ability as I've seen in a while. And who's he going up against? One of the best rookie quarterbacks of all time in CJ Stroud, now improving into year 2. And this is a matchup we get to see twice a year. They played last year, and they both played really well. And yeah, I get excited about the quarterbacks, as you mentioned. I get excited about the young quarterbacks, and you're usually better in your second year. That's when you improve the most.
There's so many takes, right, about young quarterbacks, and we've seen a lot of them directed at two in the AFC East, particularly Tua Tagovailoa as well as Josh Allen. And those are the games I'm looking forward to. I would like to see both of those as well. We get the Week 2 game, but it's really that Week 9 game, that late season matchup between the Bills and the Dolphins that always seems to have so many implications playoff-wise. Of course, the takes are going to mean that only one of these quarterbacks can be good and have a viable career and all sorts of things. But the games themselves are fun. They inspire conversations about who can play in cold weather and all of that. I'm just really looking forward to seeing it yet again. What about you, Cynthia?
I legit thought you guys were going to do some like petty party stuff like Kirk Cousins and Minnesota or even Derek Carr against the Raiders. These all happened this season. But we still have the Brady-Manning rivalry of our generation. So I'm always going to pick that whenever it happens. Of course, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, who match up in Week 11. Until they're not in the league anymore, you can slate that in for next year. What is my favorite matchup if they are to play each other? That is
Joe Burrow's watching this thinking, like, how come I can't be in this little...
Sorry, Joe. Sorry, honey. You got to stay healthy. This is the game that everybody wants to see. Are the Bills going to be okay with their remade pass-catching situation? What does Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator, now, what does he have in store for them? And, of course, Patrick Mahomes, and they traded Xavier Worthy. His draft pick was the Bills. There's so many storylines. And it's Mahomes, and it's the Brady and Manning of our time.
It's two guys who can throw the ball really far, and we're really looking forward to seeing them yet again. Speaking of one Patrick Mahomes, we're getting a little Christmas treat coming up this year. Netflix will be home to a Christmas doubleheader. First, it's the Chiefs against the Steelers, followed up by the Baltimore Ravens against the Houston Texans. That's going to be coming up Christmas Day live on Netflix. We're just getting started here on Game Day View, schedule release presented by Verizon. Up next, which teams are most likely to go from worst to first in their divisions in 2024? Our answers might surprise you. Stick around. And you can relive the highs of the 2023 NFL season with NFL Plus Premium. Catch game replay, 24/7 coverage on NFL Network, and gear up for live out-of-market preseason games this August. You can sign up today at plus.nfl.com. Terms and conditions apply. So many great playoff games from the 2023 season. We get to see redos and rematches. A lot of them do feature the Kansas City Chiefs, but also the Eagles at the Buccaneers, the Lions at the 49ers. So much to look forward to. In fact, let's get some marquee matchups presented by Verizon and get to some of these juicy playoff rematches. Greg, what do you want to see the absolute most?
I'm not going to try to be cute here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I am cute. That's
You can't help it.
Naturally. 49ers, Chiefs. Like, go to the obvious. It's the Super Bowl rematch. And it's the two teams that have been most consistently great in their conferences. This game was on NFL Network a couple weekends ago. I may or may not have allowed my son to watch it because it's like, hey, it's sports. You can watch that all day long if you want. This game was crazy if you think about it. The Chiefs only scored 6 points in their first 9 possessions and had 2 turnovers. The 49ers should have won this game like 9 times out of 10. They were leading this game 10-0. They had a 2nd and 4 at the 9-yard line in overtime. They gave this one away. We talk about revenge games all the time. It's not going to make up for it winning a regular season game, but go win a ball game at home against the Chiefs and at least feel better on that day.
Okay.
Go win a ball
Go win a ball game.
How about win 2 halves of the ball game, not just the 1 half? My choice is obviously Week 17. The Detroit Lions, the San Francisco 49ers. Let's see if the Lions can play 2 halves of football. Huh? How are we doing on that? They did do a lot to address the secondary, both in free agency and drafting. But I'm going to tell you, it doesn't get easier because the 49ers also addressed some of their issues. So in my estimation, if they had to redo it again, Dan Campbell probably wouldn't have kicked the field goal in the end of the first half. He probably would have went for it because that was his identity. It's not an analytics choice. It was an identity choice. Perhaps everything could be different. So the butterfly flaps the wings. Maybe this time everything will be different.
Like this in Week 17, too. So many good games early, but you got to save some for the end.
It's a really good way to ring out 2024. You know, like one day before New Year's Eve.
I think before we get to all of those things, we have to go with what happened when the butterfly initially flapped its wings. and we go all the way back to the Lions playing host to the Rams in the playoffs, and leading up to that game, the thought was, hey, you know, the Rams are resurgent, they're a late team, you know, we don't know if the Lions are ready. They were. The Lions were ready. And Jared Goff is fresh off of getting paid with another chance to stick it to Sean McVay in revenge. As Dan Campbell said, he's good enough for Detroit. Another chance for him to show it in the very first week of the season. And it's like Greg said, it's unwrapping the Christmas present. It's opening things up. And we will see what the Rams look like without a first ballot Hall of Famer. And we get to see the new look Lions with the new secondary. I can't help but be more excited about the first chance to see it.
Fair point.
That's all.
And your Lions, see, they could have lost that game. I will always believe that Rams team, like a call or two different, could have been in the Super Bowl.
The butterfly flapped the wrong way.
Yeah, the hypothetical. The ifs, ands, and buts. So let's go, because none of those teams we just mentioned have a chance to do what the Houston Texans did last season. Let's go from worst to first. The Texans made the playoffs last year after finishing at the bottom of the division in 2022. 3 wins the season prior to that. C.J. Stroud, as a rookie, not only led them to the division crown, but they got a win in the playoffs, becoming the most recent team to go from worst to first in their division. So here are the contestants for the 2023-2024 edition of Worst to First: the Patriots, Bengals, Titans, Chargers, Commanders, Bears, Panthers, and Cardinals. Which team will go from worst to first from this graphic, Cynthia? Who's most likely?
You know, as Marcus says, sometimes the low-hanging fruit tastes just as good. 9-8, that was the Bengals record. And you get Joe Burrow back, and those other 3 teams in your division all have the 3 hardest strengths of schedule based on a metric that Greg thinks is garbage, but we'll all look at least to point to as 1 point, whatever. But ultimately, you get Joe Burrow back. They added to their O-line. There's a lot of goodness that goes on in that situation alone. Then you kind of get some new pieces where on defense and also like the running back position. So I'm excited to see what these Bengals have in store this season, but it's the easiest one. They already were over 500 last year.
And ultimately, because I agree with you, Cynthia, like we saw Lou Anarumo come back with almost an all-new secondary. Last year, they were still contenders. And this time around, this pure basic math, I can envision the Bengals getting 4 more wins much easier than I can envision, say, the Patriots getting 7 more wins, like purely based on that. But we see
math is mathing.
Cam Taylor-Britt going into another season. He got really hot late on last year. Of course, they go on. They get Geno Stone from across the division coming over. You can add another veteran to the second. And yes, the obvious thing, having Joe Burrow for more of the season is going to be better. So I just think it's more realistic to think the Bengals than whoever Greg's about to say.
I mean, that's an easy answer. It's like you can just do whatever is easy.
Yeah.
Or you can wake up and you can attack the day, you can attack the show, you can attack the schedule release with an energy unknown to mankind and pick the Chargers. And you can look at, okay, the Chiefs are in that division, bit of a problem. It's hard to three-peat. How many three-peats have we seen in the NFL? You can't come up with any in the Super Bowl era. So that's hard for the Chiefs. Then you think about the Chargers. They got some work to do, but here's what they do have. They got Jim Harbaugh, great coaching staff. They got Justin Herbert, great quarterback. And then after drafting Joe All, I think they have a great offensive line. That is a foundation with which surprising worst of first teams have been built on much less than quarterback, coach, offensive line. Let's go Bolts.
All right. Yeah, you go out and you get a hot name, calling plays like Greg Roman coming over from the offense that Greg Roman was leading last. I feel excited, Greg.
I'm excited about Jim Harbaugh. Having him in our lives, like he is a big
offseason. He's got it better than us.
Yes.
Nobody. And coming up, we're running through the full slate of primetime games in 2024. Which teams deserve to be playing the most under the lights? We will discuss that, plus some win totals for some of the year's most intriguing squads. Which ones? You'll find out when we come back on Game Day View schedule release presented by Verizon. Welcome back to Game Day View schedule release. NFL Network kicks off its international slate Week 5. The Jets and the Vikings in London. Aaron Rodgers' squad taking on Justin Jefferson and company at Tottenham Stadium. Could we see the rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, in this one? We're looking forward to a lot of games coming up on NFL Network. Here's a look at the schedule. That game in London, then Jags-Bears Week 6, Patriots-Jags in Week 7, and the Giants and the Panthers in Munich. We also got the Week 17 triple header, but which game, Cynthia, if you look at our NFL Network schedule, are you most excited to see?
Week 6, Bears and Jags. It's going to be 6 weeks in, which means we'll see Caleb Williams be good. It's not his first start. He'll have had a month in the league already, so this is going to be a fun matchup. Plus, just for fun, it's the first of the Jaguars 2 in a row across the pond. I kind of hate when people say that, but I went with it anyways. But ultimately, I think this is going to be a really fun one because remember, the Bears last season they had 6 one-possession losses. Their defense was pretty banged up to start the season, so now we'll see full bear mode activated.
Full bear mode.
Monsters of the Midway, but only in London. It also works.
And I like the billboard for the game. Caleb Williams is ready to be good now because it's not.
Also, the Bears very popular overseas because they like all the good 80s teams.
Obviously.
Also very popular here in Estados Unidos is Sunday Night
there
Football.
We go.
Yeah, let's look forward to it. So many great games on Sunday night. As we said, you're waiting all day for them. How about the Bills at the Ravens in Week 4? Get a chance to see the Bengals taking on the Giants. Look at the Week 7. And how about the Packers at the Seahawks Week 15? So many great games on Sunday Night Football, including one across the street from us, the Eagles-Rams, Sunday Night Football Week 12. But Greg, what Sunday Night Football game stands out to you?
I had to just keep it real, and we're going back to Caleb Williams. It's the Bears. It's the Texans. It's Week 2. I just want guys that can spin it in my life. And as great as Caleb Williams is, I feel like just because we knew he would go number 1 overall, it almost hasn't gotten enough hype and attention of just what an unbelievably electric talent he is. I can't think of a rookie quarterback since I've been doing this that I'm more excited to see enter the league. Like Andrew Luck was up there, but I still think Caleb Williams is more dynamic, more exciting than he even was.
Did you say spit?
Spin it.
Spin
it.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was like,
And he's so excited I didn't even mention C.J. Stroud. Also in this game, one of the most beautiful throwers of the football.
And honestly, looking at that video of Matt Eberflus in slow motion, he's got a little more pep in his step being adjacent.
the beard also makes him look cool.
Yeah, that is true.
We like good bearded fellows around these parts.
Thank you, Cynthia.
That counts double.
Hey, how about Monday Night Football? We like beards and Monday Night Football. The Jets 49ers start us off in Week 1. Get a chance to see Cynthia's Lions play host to the Seahawks in Week 4, Saints at the Chiefs Week 5, and then over at the second half of the Monday Night Football schedule, a couple of games jumping out. What about Week 11? The Battle of Texas, the Texans again. Looking forward to that. But Cynthia, if we're breaking down this whole Monday Night Football schedule, we got 3 pages of it. What speaks to you?
You pointed it out. It's Week 11, Texans at Cowboys. I think the storylines in this one are really going to write themselves. I mean, C.J. Stroud coming off that insane Offensive Rookie of the Year campaign. Is Texas up for grabs? I mean, the Texans did a whole bunch this offseason. The Cowboys brought back Ezekiel Elliott. That was pretty much all that they've done. But ultimately, this could be like, is it the passing of the torch from like...
The fans do not like each other. They don't play that often, but the fans, they don't like it.
But this is going to be a good one. I mean, the Texans, that's a... And I think maybe like we'll see like, will there be like... There's always a lot of scrutiny around Dak Prescott right around that time of the year too. So it's like, we want CJ, we want Dak. I love it. I love the drama.
I think.
Shout out to us for waiting till this part of the show to talk about the Cowboys.
Hey, we've waited. You know, as Cynthia mentioned, perhaps being all in means that you were already all in, and there was no more chips to. So yeah, you bring back Ezekiel. But let's go to the Thursday night. Let's look at the Thursday night schedule. That's what the people want. That's what they need. Is these games on TNF, and we got the 49ers at the Seahawks NFC West battle coming up Week 6. Week 9, Aaron Rodgers. You know. We think playing host to the Houston Texans, and then the Packers at the Lions in Week 14. That game is fun.
It's a great
schedule. So many games to look forward to, but we can only pick, Greg, in this scenario, one game, your favorite.
I'm going Week 3, Patriots at Jets. You'll see a theme. I like the young quarterbacks.
Yeah, you do.
And I
Aaron
see
Rodgers?
what you're doing. Aaron Rodgers, he's
You like
gonna
the
be
young quarterback?
I'm saying he'll be back from his Achilles, and he'll be getting better and better. Drake May, another dynamic playmaker who has just preposterous physical gifts. Like some of the throws he made at UNC were incredible. I think he'll be starting by then. I think he'll be starting by week 1 because he is that talented. And I see what you did, NFL. You only gave the Patriots one primetime game. You put it early because you thought they were going to be losers. But Drake May's got something else for you. He's going to be like C.J. Stroud last year. He's going to be boxing.
Yeah, the Patriots have been pushed to the back burner, but
you know whenever he gets that voice.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you did,
Yeah.
NFL. Like that's
He's like Jay Cutler,
listen.
but with a better attitude.
like we
go.
didn't devote multiple weeks to his old quarterback having discussion across the street at the Forum. Either way, people are going to be excited about the Bears this season. Of course, the #1 overall pick. That's plenty to be excited about.
With the first pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams, quarterback, Southern California.
Williams stood right in and delivers it to Washington.
Caleb Williams is absolutely ludicrous.
With the 9th pick, the Bears select Rome Odunze, wide receiver, Washington.
Rome Odunze wide open. Odunze is that dude.
It's time for Over/Under here on Game Day View, and that is why these lovely foam fingers have made their returns. We're going to talk about win totals for 2024, so let's kick it off with Caleb Williams and the Bears. The number for them sitting at 9 wins, and this is not a commentary on Caleb, but I think it's under. I'm just looking at the schedule. You need wins over the Packers and the Lions. They're at San Francisco, at Houston. Just under examination of the schedule to get to that number means some wish casting for me. So therefore, I'm going to say under.
Okay, so 9 is a problem to me. It's a mistake. Should be at 9.5 or 8.5. When you put it at 9, you give me a chance to do this. It's a push.
Oh.
It's right at 9. That's perfect. 9 and 8. And it's not about Caleb, because I think that offense is going to be great. It's about expecting the Eberflus defense to be that good. Like, just because they finished last season on a hot streak, they're not going to be that good. They're a little thin up front.
What did you say was the one of the hardest division in the NFC?
NFC North.
Yeah, it's not a commentary on Caleb, but by the way, just so you know, you heard it here. The commissioner had back surgery like prior to that. You know, all the hugs on the stage. So every time I saw a hug, I still cringe from it because back surgery is real.
All right, go to the Jets. Hope Aaron Rodgers plays more than one series in 2024. The over/under is sitting at 9.5, and I think it's under. Road games against the Niners, Steelers, Dolphins, Bills, and Jags. I'm going under, Greg.
I'm going to go over. I like their team build this year. I think the offensive line makes sense. I think there's depth at wide receiver. It's a good-looking Jets roster.
I'm actually, we match here. I also think that for your fantasy purposes, like Breece Hall, you're going to want to draft him very high this year. I think they're going to use him a ton. I ultimately think that this is really a function of more health this season. I think they got sort of dinged for health last year. Now they'll be healthier this year. That's kind of how what law of averages maybe works out. So as long as they stay healthy, they're good. All
right, let's go to the Dallas Cowboys. They have 9 games against 2023 playoff teams. Their total sitting at 10.5. And if those games were in the playoffs, I would probably say something different. But because these are regular season games, I am going to take the Dallas Cowboys just based on the division. I think they get 4 wins right there starting off against the Giants and the Commanders. I've got the Cowboys over.
I disagree because the Cowboys are a lot like me. After back-to-back picks, titles, champions on Game Day View, I'm high on my own supply. I don't have my eye on the ball, and I don't handle success well. Under for the Cowboys.
High on your own supply. I also agree with the under assessment, in large part because I'm still concerned about their O-line. What is going on with this O-line? And now you have even bigger questions in the run game, and your O-line's a big question mark. That's going to be an under for me.
All right, still to come here on Game Day View. Schedule release presented by Verizon. We've got winners. We're running through every single division, telling you who we've got penciled in to win it. Is anyone bold enough to go off menu? Yes, all 3 of us are. We'll tell you how far we get off of that menu and serve it to you when we come back on Game Day View. are back, and get pumped, football fans. The 2024 NFL schedule, powered by AWS, has been released, and single-game tickets are on sale now. Catch the biggest matchup, rivalries, and more. Visit NFL.com/tickets to purchase tickets today. Tickets available through Ticketmaster, SeatGeek, and Sports Illustrated Tickets, members of the NFL Ticket Network. So now that the schedule has been released and analyzed, let's get into some division winner predictions. We'll start out in the NFC West. Greg, the 49ers projected. Do you project them?
I do. This was difficult for me, but I consider the Rams. I consider the Seahawks. I don't think it's a runaway, but I love that the 49ers wound up keeping Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. And it has the feel of like a one last time together before we have to pay some other contracts. Maybe then Deebo's not there, but they are just so consistent on offense that any decline that they have in defense, I have some questions about the secondary, I think won't be that big of a deal. They win the division.
All right, let's go to where the Chiefs have won the division a billion times in a row. Does anything change, Cynthia?
1,000,000,001. No, it does not change in this one. We've talked a lot about the Chiefs, and for good reason. In large part, there's this guy, his name is Patrick Mahomes. As long as he's there, they're always going to be in contention. That defense last year was the heart and soul of the team, and that actually made it even easier for Patrick Mahomes to succeed. So play it forward. Add Xavier Worthy.
All right, so things stay the same. Let's go over to the NFC South. The Bucs have won the division last year. The Falcons are the favorites, and I actually agree with that, considering how close the Atlanta Falcons were to being in the playoffs last year. And in comes Kirk Cousins. They also get Michael Penix Jr. They didn't necessarily have a quarterback that they trusted. Now they might have two. I think that gives the Falcons the advantage, and that's why I've got them picked. Let's go to C.J. Stroud and the Texans. They went from worst to first. They won the AFC South. Will they run it back, Greg?
I say no, just because I kind of like that plus 320 there with the Colts. I think this is a three-way race that's about equal. So I'm taking the team that's predicted to go in third. I really like their line play. If you're just adding up the offensive line and
now
defensive
you're
line
speaking to my heart.
of the Colts, they might have one of the best O-line, D-line combinations in the entire
Talk
NFL.
dirty to me.
The line talk. The line talk always works. Let's go from line talk to Lion talk. We go to NFC North, where Cynthia's Lions won the division last year, running it back, Cynthia. Let's say it, in May 2024.
Yes! The Lions are running it back. Why? Because of their line. They paid their O-line. They figured it out. I know they lost a guard. He's out here in Los Angeles. That's going to be a problem. But they drafted really well, and this is another year of continuity between the majority of the pieces on this offense. So run it back. Lions, I'm really excited for this. I'm really happy about it, guys.
Not favorites either, so I like that.
No, this is a nice moderate favoritism.
Moderate favoritism.
Moderate favoritism, not by me.
Which is what when
I'm not
people
a moderate
accuse people
favorite.
of homerism, it should be clarified as moderate favoritism. And I say that because we're going to talk about the AFC North now. And I am going to pick the Baltimore Ravens to win the AFC North. And the reason, not just the fact that they return with the reigning MVP, but the fact that if your concerns are about them not running the ball, when Derrick Henry is there, you can get rid of that concern. This is it. You got the head coach and the GM when they're signing a running back, because this signing is a little bit different. Yes, the years have piled up, but the guy has continued to pile on the yardage. And he's just difficult to forget. When he's in the backfield with the MVP, I do think that means something. Let's go to the NFC East. The Cowboys taking home the crown last season, Cynthia. Did they run it back? You didn't think they were going to get to 10.5 wins.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
The road to victory.
Fly, Eagles, fly. I think it's back to being the Eagles to lose. Not only did they improve both offensive and defensive coordinators, but look at their stinking draft. How on earth did the other 31 teams allow them to get two of the three best corners in the league? Somebody tell me how that even happened. I don't even know.
People don't like defensive players.
How he's done it again.
Okay, but let's be honest, it's also Jalen Hurts. He's coming back. That's kind of a big deal. The whole thing, Eagles, let's go.
All right, speaking of good quarterbacks, the Bills currently favorites to win the AFC East because they have a giant mechanized throwing machine at quarterback who can also run the ball. But do you agree with that?
I do. I look at them, 4 straight years.
Not
they
the
have won
Patriots
the AFC.
coming for you.
No, the plus 20. Ooh, that's.
We hear you, Greg, doubting the Patriots.
Okay, so
Rawr.
people are misunderstanding what happened in Buffalo this offseason. Everyone's talking about what they lost. How about what they kept? This guy, Josh Allen. How about the continuity on the rest of the roster, though?
Deion Dawkins, baby.
19 of 22 players that I project to start this year for them were on the roster. They actually haven't changed that much. Stephon Diggs, they will miss him, but I think it's a committee approach, a really good offensive line. We know Sean McDermott can get it done defensively. I think they should be bigger favorites than that over the Dolphins and the Jets.
All right, so we feel...
So it's a deal.
Yeah, it's a deal
right now.
You got the numbers. Greg Rosenthal's giving you his favorite, as he said, consecutive picks championships for this man. Coming up, it might be May, but it's never too early for some Super Bowl predictions, especially because, well, I know mine is going to be right. Are the Chiefs going to three-peat? Do any of us, again, not pick the Chiefs? We'll find out coming up next on Game Day View. Schedule release presented by Verizon.
Seconds to go, 22-19 San Francisco. A touchdown wins the game.
Hey, so got Church right bunch, F, shuttle, Tom and Jerry right, yellow. Orange, 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 let's go! Come on, no.
Play action fake, right side throw, touchdown! Kansas City! Back-to-back Super Bowl champion, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Back-to-back, baby. That's another echelon. Back-to-back. Hey, we're not done, dog. I want 3. I want back-to-back-to-back.
Well, we're definitely not done, Patrick, because it's time for Seize the Season, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. The Super Bowl odds, according to the folks at Caesars Sportsbook, they have a rematch.
Whoa.
Both plus 575 are the Niners and the Chiefs. And the
Lions in that first column.
At plus 900. And yeah, the Lions sharing their odds with the Bengals and the Texans. And then you have to add some numbers to get to the Bills, Eagles, Cowboys, and the Packers. But ultimately, because we're all looking forward to Super Bowl 59, played next February in New Orleans. So let's make some early Super Bowl predictions. Cynthia, who's going to win the Super Bowl?
I thought you were talking to yourself when you're like, well, we're not done, Patrick. I was like, what? Okay.
I was talking to the Super Bowl MVP.
Picking
we're on
the Lions.
first name basis.
If
the Lions?
If there's one thing I can tell you is that coding in May is not really sound math. So why not go with my heart? Yeah. And my heart says the Lions are within striking distance, which means, for the purposes of this show,
there it is. Jared Goff. Jared Goff. Can't get tired of that.
Sorry. Never get tired. Never get old.
At some point, though, is it like I don't know. Is it almost like condescending that he's the only quarterback that gets his own? It's almost like patting him on the back.
Condescending?
Special. You know?
He was treated a little bad before.
Not anymore, though.
We do have some other #1 overall picks who have this "nobody believed in me" story, but Jared should be able to tout that. What do you think, Greg?
I am also going for value, and I'm also going for a pick you can't hold me to. It's May, so let's go big-ish. Buffalo Bills. I want to pick a team that's there year after year in the Final 8, a coaching staff that I trust, who added the missing piece. What wide receiver made more big catches in the big moments when Patrick Mahomes needed a play in the playoffs the last couple years? Who do you look to? Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So what Marquez Valdes-Scantling MVS is going to do is give you about 375 yards in the regular season, and then when you get to the playoffs, Josh Allen's going to look for someone. He'll just go, I guess I'll just throw it up to MVS, and they'll win some big-time ball games. They'll get off the schneid, and I think they have a great defense. They win Super Bowl.
That's an incredible Super Bowl. We'll stop there. Show's over. Good job.
Yeah, no, it would be fun. I am picking, surprise, surprise, the Baltimore Ravens, because ultimately, for them not to be in the Super Bowl, it took a sequence of circumstances, and I know people are going to think, well, the Ravens could have run the ball more. The Ravens had 3 drives late in this game. They got 160-plus yards and 3 points out of them. Yes, this punch-out by L'Jarius Sneed, ultimately, I think, is the play that kept the Ravens. That's what it took to keep the Ravens out of the Super Bowl last year. Fractions of an inch. The ball's not round. Cynthia, what are you seeing?
I think that's the exact moment the Titans were like, we're going to pay him a bunch of money to come here. We've isolated it.
Because the value is not just getting him on your team. He's not playing for the Kansas City Chiefs and ruining my life. Download the Caesar Sportsbook app using code TV1000. Place your first bet. If you lose, you get it back up to $1,000 as a bonus bet. You must be 21 plus. Still to come, get your popcorn ready, folks, because we're talking some can't-miss games. It's the schedule release show. So what games do we absolutely have to see in the 2024 season? You'll find out coming up on the Game Day View schedule release presented by Verizon. We are back, and it is time for you to get ready to write this down because we are going to talk about some can't-miss games for the upcoming season. Which matchup do you have your eyes on the most, Greg? Where is your eye lingering on
I can feel the manic energy from the Harbaugh coming at me already. It's going to be great. John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, across the street at SoFi, Ravens and Chargers. I was at the weird press conference they did before the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Do you remember that? When, like, Jim Harbaugh just was not having it. And the coaches are great. The quotes will be great. But it also has Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert, two of my favorite quarterbacks to watch.
Great.
I'm circling week 2, talking about weird press conferences. It's Russell Wilson's return to Denver. And it's early enough in the season where there's a good chance Justin Fields won't be playing yet, which is a very important fact because I love Petty. And I love a good Petty moment. Week 2, you get the Steelers at the Broncos. It's going to be a fun one. I just wish Sean Payton were somehow playing because then it would be even more fueled. Because Bo Nix.
Sean Payton's Saints this year is kind of fun, too.
Yeah, they're going to have
it.
a tribute video. There's so many opportunities to go Petty. Y'all know I love Petty. I love revenge.
Petty.
But I also love family and celebrations of family. And football is family. It's not just a thing, because on Thanksgiving, the Dolphins will be at the Packers, and it's the closing game of a great day where everybody gets to spend time with the people that they love, and then watch Jordan Love take on Tua Tagovailoa. We could have score fest. We could have points. It's just going to be a great opportunity to celebrate you guys as well.
My favorite football day of the year. This is family right here. Let's roll it back.
I know.
Thanks for watching Game Day View. See you coming up in week 1. Have a good season, everybody.
Oh, let's go!
120,000. That's approximately how many schedules were generated by the league's supercomputer, with over 600 of them becoming playable. 150 more to weed through than a year ago.
Hey, time to go to work today, right?
14, the number of teams that will have multiple short weeks during the 24 season, a product of the new NFL with now 7 broadcast partnerships and the Christmas holiday falling on a Wednesday this year. 3, as in 3-game road trips. 4 teams will deal with that this season. The Vikings, Bears, Bills, and Browns must travel in back-to-back-to-back weeks, with Cleveland beginning those frequent flyer miles starting in week 4. 5 is the number of teams who end the season with 2 games on the road: the Chiefs, Chargers, Dolphins, Panthers, and Seahawks. 6, that's the number of primetime games for the Cowboys, Niners, and Jets, the most in the NFL in 2024 before flexing games begins. A year ago, the Bills ended up leading the league with 7 primetime affairs.
This is our moment! Every single snap, everything you got for the guy beside you, and we're gonna find a way to get a win!
6 is also the number of different days of the week in which the Chiefs will play on this season. KC kicking off games on Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, joining the 1927 New York Football Yankees as the only teams to play 6 different days of the week in a single season. Sure, 13 is her lucky number, but 3 is the number of Taylor Swift concerts that had to be worked around when it came to scheduling home games for the Dolphins, Saints, and Colts, with her Eras Tour landing on 3 straight Sundays from week 7 through week 9. 14, the number of Super Bowl rematches this year, with 3 of them being rematches from multiple Super Bowls: the Chiefs at Niners, Rams at Patriots, and Cowboys at Steelers. And 12, as in the week number and number of seasons since the Harbaugh brothers faced off in Super Bowl 47, when Ravens head coach John beat his brother Jim's 49ers in a thriller at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
And the Ravens beat the 49ers. It's John Harbaugh over Jim Harbaugh.
Coincidentally, the same site of this year's Super Bowl 59.